versus Storm. How about that? Only one Enchantress player here into day number 2. It's Curtis. We'll see if he can keep it going.
My first Star City game, Legacy Open, very, very many years ago, I lost playing for the top 8 to Enchantress.
Lou Christopher. Now, I have to test my card knowledge here. So that's Miri's Guile.
That's Miri's Guile.
I already know that. That's like kind of a Sensei's Divining Top or like kind of like a Sylvan Library?
It's just reordered the top 3.
Okay.
I believe.
We'll get Miri's Guile out there. Let you guys see that one at home. Tempest or
Yes.
Stronghold?
I believe Tempest.
Okay, we're going to check.
Not 100%. Could be Stronghold.
Okay.
Don't recall. Stronghold was the set where I quit for a while, so there's some gap years there.
Tempest.
Yeah.
Bang. During your upkeep, you may look at the top 3 cards of your library and put them back in any order. Now, Cadaxian Probe is going to allow Hawkins to see Wieman's hand. Now Hawkins knows exactly what he's up against. For Curtis, it's an Oblivion Ring, a Solitary Confinement, a Wild Growth, 2 Sterling Grows, and an Argothian Enchantress.
This hand is potentially excellent for Curtis if he gets to turn 3 with 3 mana. Those are 2 very big ifs.
Yes. Now, why do I know all these cards? I have no idea. I've never played Enchantress before. Sterling Grove, it's a nice one.
Yep, it's a nice card. Invasion, uncommon.
Yep, Solitary Confinement, kind of the lock.
Yep.
If you can get it, Argothian Enchantress. Makes the car go.
Mm-hmm.
Wild Growth, pretty helpful too. And if you're Eric, and Eric appears to be a veteran of Legacy, given what we saw in St. Louis, I think he knows exactly what he's up against now. This is nothing new.
It's a bunch of cards that say enchantments matter on them or they're enchantments. So even if you don't really know what's going on, you can kind of piece it together.
Duress. I'm going to take the Wild Growth. It was unclear if you want to take that or the Confinement. I think Wild Growth makes the most sense here. Also, he has a backup discard spell there in Cabal Therapy. It's just going to pass the turn back. Wyman's going to organize the top 3 of cards of his deck with the Miri's Guile.
Found Sarah's Sanctum.
Oh, yeah.
It's a fun one.
Oh,
Guy's
yeah.
Cradle for enchantments.
He'll play the Sanctum. And now there's our Argothian Enchantress. Now the goal here is to untap and then get the ball rolling. Hawkins with another Probe in hand. There's a Brainstorm over there as well. If he kept a 1-lander, I'm sure he was hoping that Probe would help him get to more lands, but he might just have a really explosive hand.
Well, he's got Probe plus Brainstorm, so he has more looks at the lands. But he's giving Wiemann here quite a bit of time to set up. And Hawkins might have to spend the turn just using Therapy or Duress to get Solitary Confinement out of the hand. Because with Argothian Enchantress in play, Wymann's probably going to be able to keep it up for the entire game.
Here's Brainstorm. Couple of lands there. Also a Preordain. Lotus Petal and a fetch land found by Hawkins.
I think Hawkins might have just been pointing at the Storm counter.
Oh,
I'm not
no.
sure. Because he picked up a land and a Petal.
And he's putting back a Cabal Therapy. At least it looks that way. So it might be showtime here.
It's also possible that this is just going to be land, discard, spell, pass with the intent of going off next turn.
Well, Hawkins has put his 2 cards back with Brainstorm, so that's done resolving. He'll sacrifice Misty Rainforest, so he's going to shuffle away the top couple of cards, fetch a land out of his deck. There's Underground Sea. What's next? Could just be a discard spell like you mentioned. The Duress is the first card we can see in his hand. He's going to play Cabal Therapy instead. He's going to name Sterling Grove. Now I'll use the Petal, Duress, clear away the Confinement. I'm just going to leave Curtis with an Oblivion Ring. So the hand is shredded.
But he's got Miri's Guile in play and Argothian Enchantress. Good chance that Wymann's able to rebuild from this spot pretty easily.
There's an Elephant Grass there, but not really the matchup for that card.
Not necessarily true. If Storm goes for an Empty the Warrens kill, Elephant Grass is awesome.
Yeah.
It's not good, of course, if they're trying to kill you with tendrils, but Elephant Grass comes up.
One of my favorite cards, a real flavor card.
Yep. I'm not sure why it would be especially hard for black creatures to attack through the elephant grass.
It's very tough for them to wade through it.
Don't know.
Yep.
You know, whatever. Not totally sure.
Wiemann taking a little while to figure out how he wants to resolve this Miri's Guile.
I was hoping possibly to get a Sensei's Divine Top reprieve this round, but
No.
we've just run into the original Sensei's Divine Top.
The original offender in Miri's Guile.
I guess Sylvan Library. It's probably some, oh no, camouflage. It's like Green Ponder. But it only happens once, it doesn't stay in play.
Here's an elephant grass.
And that has found an Enchantress's presence there for Wiemann.
All right. Well, what do we have here?
Oh, no, this is the wrong card.
Okay.
I'm sorry. There's a green card that lets you natural selection or something. There's like an eagle person in the artwork.
An eagle person.
You'll know is
Has
looking into some sort of orb.
An eagle person looking
sure
into an orb.
There's literally dozens of you at home right now who know the card that I'm talking about.
Is that the art description? An eagle person
It could be.
looking into an orb. For all of our wonderful Twitter followers out there,
I think it's natural selection.
if you can decipher that, you don't win anything,
Yep.
but you do get to see the card.
There it is.
Natural. Look at look at the top 3 cards of any player's library. You may opt. I like the use of opt there. You may opt to rearrange those 3 cards or shuffle the entire library.
Green Ponder.
Green Ponder.
So I guess this is the original one, technically.
Wait, hold on. But you don't get to draw a card.
No, of course. If you got
This
to
isn't Green Ponder at all.
if you got to draw a card, this card would be all over the place.
That's true. That's true. More like Green Index.
Yeah, it's green index.
Yeah.
You can index them though.
Yeah.
And I was right about the artwork. It was an eagle person looking into an orb, hanging onto a rope. I didn't have the, I didn't have the other part of it.
Are you sure that's not just like a piece of fruit?
I don't know. It beats me.
Preordained by Eric. That is. I'll give you the benefit of that is an eagle person.
And if,
give you that.
if Hawkins here has kept with both with Preordain, which is what he did, I'm assuming that he's ready to go next turn. And there's only 1 copy of Solitary Confinement in Wieman's list, so I believe he has to just go off this turn.
Yeah, I don't think there's a great way for Wiemann to actually get it back. I'm trying to see if there's any, like get back from the graveyard effects, regrowth effects, stuff like that. I don't think there is.
No.
Elephant grass down. It's going to search up a savanna. There's Enchantress's presence.
And I would be surprised if we get back to Curtis's next turn.
I would be shocked as well.
Based on the Preordained last turn from Hawkins.
We've watched Eric play Storm quite a few times here over the past handful of weeks on the Open Series, and when he goes reaching for the Storm counters, it's typically over. Though he is doing a little bit of math right now. He may not have it just yet.
Well, there's an awkwardness here because I don't think he has red mana, and it looks like his path to do anything at this point involves Past in Flames. He's got Infernal Tutor plus 2 Dark Rituals, so he can't get his hand empty, nor can he cast Past in Flames. So I think he's just chilling for now. I mean, an Infernal Tutor for a Dark Ritual, but that doesn't really get him anywhere.
The thing is, if you're Eric, I don't think you're in that much of a rush, right? You're not under anything pressure.
Enchantress can go from not very much to lethal in not a lot of time. I know it doesn't look like Wiemann's got a lot going on right now, but from this base, it doesn't take him all that long to get to Emrakul. If you chain together enough wild growths and so forth, you can get there pretty fast, especially with Wiemann already having a Serra Sanctum in play. And also the new legendary land rule is very good for this deck as well.
That's true.
We see it a lot with Gaia's Cradle. I have not seen Enchantress on camera post that rules change, but being able to draw a bunch of cards, get your second Serra Sanctum, and then Emrakul, that can come up. So no, Hawkins is not under that much pressure, but he has less time than it might appear on the surface.
Basic forest here for Wiemann. Off that Misty Rainforest. He's down to 18. It's an Oblivion Ring. He'll draw a couple of cards. There goes Miri's Guile. And it's not a you may. You do have to exile something. There's Sterling Grove. 2 more cards coming. Keep in mind, he's already played a land for the turn. All right, well, he's found Rest in Peace to go along with Helm of Being. So
yeah.
I think Eric knows now that he's got to actually do something. He drew an ad nauseum.
Okay, that qualifies. I mean, this is not the ideal way to do it, but he hasn't made his land drop, and he'll have a mana floating. This is probably good enough. And if we get a next turn and Wieman's able to slam down Rest in Peace, it gets pretty complicated for Hawkins.
Well, he's reaching for the counters.
Also, with Sterling Grove, it's possible that Wiemann can simply use Sterling Grove to find us another copy of Solitary Confinement. Hawkins doesn't know that he's only got 1 copy in the list.
Sure.
So he's got to make his move now.
Yep.
No land drop, 1 mana floating. It's an okay spot to go off from, but Wiemann's board's getting pretty threatening here, so I think Hawkins just has to make a move here. And really, honestly, if Hawkins finds red mana off of this ad nauseum, he should be fine.
The thing is, you just don't know what Wiemann can do.
Yeah, next turn, who knows? He could lock you out of the game. He could kill you outright, whatever. So just got to go for it. And again, if he's able to find red mana, get everything started, he should just be fine.
Now, this is not the best. Oh, no. This is not the best I have seen as far as ad nauseum is concerned. Some ponders over there. I mean, he's a 3.
At this point, he may need to find Lion's Eye Diamond to be able to have the Infernal Tutor work. Because he can kickstart with Misty Rainforest. That can get him to red mana. He's got a Dark Ritual there and I believe a Cabal Ritual as well. So he can get the requisite mana to cast Past in Flames. But I think as his graveyard and hand currently stand, Past in Flames is a dead end because he can't do anything productive with the Infernal Tutor. So I think Hawkins may have to keep digging for more help. I think Lion's Eye Diamond gets him across the finish line for sure. There might be some other weird backdoor combinations. He can't naturally find the tendrils at this point. If he flips that over, he's just dead.
He's also got that other Past in Flames in his deck, too. Though it is in his, I think it's in his hand right now. He's playing a little bit of a different build. All right, he's going to take him. He's stopping at 3. Dark Rit. I think this is going to be pretty hard.
Well, he picked up a top, and a top is essentially a look at 3 cards.
Also, he hasn't played a land.
Yep. Well, I think he needs to play it because he didn't find Lotus Petal here as well. I think he needs to play a land just to get to red mana to Past in Flames.
Yeah, you mentioned the top, too. The top could be pretty nice here, actually.
Yeah. Like I said, if Hawkins finds Lion's Eye Diamond, maybe even Lotus Petal, I think he's fine. Lion's Eye Diamond would be the most helpful of them all because then his hand's empty and the Infernal Tutor he flashes back can just go get tendrils.
What I always find interesting about Storm, sometimes it's easy mode. You just have you get the kill, but sometimes ad nauseum doesn't break the way you need it to. And then it gets really hard. So in a situation like this where he's got to actually play top and activate top, that's not helpful mana-wise.
And I really like the way that Hawkins is playing this. This is very sharp here. You see he plays the top, he looks. He does not find Lion's Eye Diamond. He now fetches a land. He has 4 black in his pool. He can tap this for a red, cast Past in Flames. He has a black floating. Can play a bunch of rituals out of his graveyard, then reactivate the top. So by playing top first and looking, he gets himself essentially 3 free looks at Lion's Eye Diamond. So Hawkins knows what the goal is. He knows what he's trying to find right now, and he's just trying to maximize his looks at it.
So there's Pass and Flames. Spell count not going to be a problem.
No.
So he's already there.
He can also just find the tendrils at this point.
Mm-hmm. Well, he's got a lot of mana to work with. It's just mostly black. There's another one. And one thing to note is that his life total's 2. No probes allowed.
Yep.
How'd he do? I think he found LED. Draw a card. There is LED. Play that. There's Infernal Tutor. Hold priority. Crack that. Time to go find a Tendrils. And that is going to do it. Eric Hawkins going to win game number 1 here over Curtis Wiemann. Storm is up a game over Enchantress. Another well-played game by Eric.
Yep, knew exactly what the target was at that point. Had to find Tendrils or Lion's Eye Diamond. Maximize his looks at it. Found it on the second Divining Top activation before Wiemann could get back to his turn and do who knows what.
To the sideboards we're going to go, and we get to start with Enchantress, which is always a delight. 4 Leyline of Sanctity. That's going to be a good one. 2 Rest in Peace, 2 Oppressive Rays, 2 Aura Silence, 2 Pith and Needle, another copy of Sterling Grove, and a Gaddock Teague and Humility.
So the 4 Leyline of Sanctities I believe will be coming in this matchup, and I think the 2 copies of Rest in Peace will come in as well, and probably the Gaddock Teague.
Yeah, I actually like Gaddock Teague a lot here.
Yeah, Wyman's got a very light Green Sun Zenith package. He can find Gaddock Teague pretty reliably. And it's a problematic card for Hawkins. Obviously, you can't cast Ad Nauseam, Pass in Flames, Tendrils, or Empty the Warrens with that card in play.
Other side of things here for Hawkins, 3 Abrupt Decay, 2 Disfigure, 2 Empty the Warrens, 2 Xanthid Swarm, 2 Dreaded Knight, a Chain of Vapor, a Rebuild, a Flusterstorm, and a Tropical Island.
Definitely wants to bring in the 1 copy of Chain of Vapor. Wyman's going to be playing a lot of the game leaning on 1 lock piece, and Hawkins wants to be able to bounce it and kill him. You could also rationalize bringing in the Abrupt Decays for the same reason. Abrupt Decay also has the benefit of being able to kill Enchantress's presence, and the Enchantress deck doesn't do very much if it is without one of its card drawing engines.
Well, those are the options there for both players. So game number 2 going to be underway here in just a second. Curtis Wiemann will be on the play with his Enchantress deck, so we'll see what he can put together. However, right now, we're going to talk about that next level library, which means we're going to be talking about Patrick Chapin. That's the innovator. It's the Hall of Famer. It's the 2-time world runner-up and a Pro Tour champion. He's got some time to write some books.
Yes, and we have 2 great books for you. Next Level Magic with a focus on playing the game better. Next Level Deck Building, obviously more of a focus on deck building. And they're for players of all ability levels, available on paperback and ebook right now at StarCityGames.com/nextlevel.
Eric Hawkins checking in at 8-3 right now with Storm. We saw him again get 2nd place at the Open Series in St. Louis, lost to Tom Ross in the finals. It's been a good run for Eric over the past handful of months. We get to see him more at Open Series events, and I think now players and viewers at home have a pretty good idea that this guy, at least with Storm, is pretty good.
Yes, very, very sharp Storm player. We've seen him have very good results with the deck, and clearly knows his way around it. Also a big sports and poker fan.
I look forward to seeing him at the Players' Championship, but there's no guarantee because right now he's number 9. He'd be the last person in. He's 1 point ahead of Tom Ross. Now, again, there was that IQ on Friday, the only game in town, your old stomping grounds, where Tom Ross got 2nd place, so he got a few more points there. However, if you take a look at the players to watch in the standings, which you can find at our coverage page, Ross down to 4 losses. So we're not going to see him hoist a trophy here with Infect, as we've seen him do so many times. Hawkins at 8-3. So if you're Eric, you're kind of pumping the fist there. Tom out of top 8 contention. You're still in top 8 contention. Maybe you can pull away here, create a little space between the 2.
Yeah, the losses from the people that are close to you mean about as much to you as your wins do. So I'm sure that Hawkins is thrilled with Ross not having a great performance thus far.
Todd Anderson, too, down to 7-4.
Yes. I mean, the gap between Eric and Todd Anderson a bit more substantial. Be hard for Eric to run him down, but you never know exactly how the tournaments are going to break.
I think this weekend will be fascinating right now. Chris Anderson is in 1st place, which is so big for him in regards to our Season 4 leaderboard and what he's trying to accomplish to get to the Players' Championship. And we basically have, it feels like, 6 players competing for, I'd actually say 8 players maybe competing for 6 spots, something like that.
Yeah, the Invitational should be, I think the Invitational is going to be really fascinating to watch as the top 16, top 32 type of breaks and how those points are distributed. It's going to make the difference between people getting in the Players' Championship and missing it.
Yeah. And as we saw last year at our Season 4 Invitational in Seattle, every match, every point does matter. Dylan Donegan dragged Stephen Mann along in with him.
Yep.
And it was Danny Jessup as the odd man out. So, and it was Danny Jessup playing to make it into the Players' Championship as he lost in the finals of the Invitational.
you never know what the points are that are going to matter. You know, one of our best of SCG live moments, a tape that we replay a lot, is Chris Anderson versus Andrew Boswell, finals of a Standard Open, where I think Boswell played A+ Magic, and I think Chris would admit was not his best match. That's 5 points. And what are 5 points worth to Chris right now?
A whole bunch.
A whole bunch.
You'll be able to look back at some of those moments where players may have missed out on opportunities for points. And that was quite the match.
Yes.
Boswell's first Open Series win. These players will present decks. Hawkins on the draw, Wiemann on the play. And we'll see if Curtis, our lone Enchantress player today too, can even things up here. Enchantress can be very explosive at times. We almost saw it happen in that game. And it does have some really nice cards in this matchup, actually. In Solitary Confinement, in Leyline and Sanctity after sideboard. So actually things get pretty tough for Eric after sideboard.
Yeah, the issue here for Enchantress is it spends about 2 turns not doing a whole lot at the minimum. Leyline and Sanctity can throw a wrench into that, but by and large, the first couple of turns are just setup. And you don't have Force of Will, you don't have Duress, and Storm wins a pretty good percentage of the time on the second turn against the decks that don't do anything.
Wiemann going to take a mulligan here.
But Wiemann does have some problematic cards, and 4 copies of Leyline of Sanctity is a huge boon. It's hard for Eric to go to Empty the Warrens as a way to fight through that, because Elephant Grass is so good against Empty the Warrens that you kind of want to stay on the Tendrils kill, but then that becomes problematic against cards like Solitary Confinement and Leyline of Sanctity. So there are some good cards in Wiemann's deck, no doubt about it. It's just a little slow to bring to bear.
Kurt's going to keep Vancouver mulligan now. Take a look at the top card. We'll see where he wants to put it from the scry. Goes to the bottom. And now we're underway. Leyline of Sanctity to begin the game. Basic Forest. Utopia Sprawl. Good start.
Good opening here. It looks like Curtis has already also brought in his copy of Aura of Silence.
Okay.
I was not anticipating.
Curtis is going to go with white here for the Utopia Sprawl. And now we'll go over to Hawkins. Tropical Island, Ponder. So take a look at the top couple, see if he wants to keep them or not. Now, as far as things are concerned for Eric, outs to Leyline of Sanctity, ways to get that out of here.
He has a Chain of Vapor.
Okay.
Which I have to believe was brought in for this matchup. And he can try to win via Empty the Warrens, but that's, I think, hard to do.
Misty Rainforest here. Not sure this is a matchup Eric wants to see on the other side of the table.
Well, game one is a solid matchup for Storm. If the Enchantress player is prepared and has a real sideboard, the post-board games can get pretty rough. I mean, they've got a lot of enchantments that are tough to play through, and it's hard to answer all of them.
There's Aura Silence.
Weatherlight special.
First box my dad ever bought me.
Is Weatherlight?
Oh, yeah. There was some land in that set that was like a Lotus land.
Lotus Veil.
Yeah, that's what it is.
Lotus Veil, Scorched Ruin, Gemstone Mine. We're all in that set.
Okay. There's the Aura. Artifact and enchantment spells cost Eric an additional 2 to play, then you can use Aura Silence to destroy target artifact or enchantment. So things are getting more difficult. That got me hooked, the box.
Yep. The problem here is that the Wiemann right now is without an engine. You know,
Yeah.
if he had an Enchantress effect, things would be going very well for him.
Green Sun Zenith, problem solved.
Yes. And now I would imagine that Wiemann's going to be going and getting Argothian Enchantress, though I suppose there's a possibility that he gets a Galactique.
It's true. a lot of hate here.
What's nice about the hate, too, it's all incidental. None of it really deviates from the core game plan. Only the Teague is a bit of an outlier. The rest of them, they're enchantments, so they're all part of the core strategy.
All right, Abrupt Decay is going to take care of Teague. Okay, so he's come prepared. Brainstorm. Two cards left to go back here for Hawkins in just a moment. Back over to Wiemann we go. What do we have now? Rest in peace. All right, graveyard's down. Hawkins going to sacrifice blue to Delta. It just seems hard for him.
Well, he is under zero pressure.
That's the only good thing.
So assuming that he has cards like Abrupt Decay and Chain of Vapor in his deck, he's got a lot of time to find Ad Nauseam and really go to work. I mean, he can set up a great hand, Ad Nauseam, with a lot of mana floating, and assuming that he has his various anti-permanent measures in the deck, he can work his way through this. If Wiemann had an Enchantress effect, I think this game would have been over by now. Just this is a lot to work through, but with Hawkins having a lot of breathing space, he's got time.
Brainstorm. Duress among those cards. That's not going to be helpful, though, given the ley line. So Duress is one of the first ones to go back. Looks like he's found another copy of Abrupt Decay. Remember, all cards right now are going to be exiled because Rest in Peace is on the battlefield. There he goes, Brainstorm. Now Hawkins doing a little bit of calculating here. He's going to play Volcanic. He's thinking Infernal Tutor. All right. We'll go this route. What's the reveal going to be? Dark Ritual. Okay. He's got plans for something.
Yep. And he's got Abrupt Decay in hand, too. So if he needs to, he can break out of the Rest in Peace. Have access to his graveyard again.
The other thing I'm curious about with how Eric is sideboarded, because we know he's brought in Abrupt Decay, you have to imagine he's brought in Chain of Vapor as well, is, you know, what he's done with Past in Flames, because he has Toon in his main deck this weekend.
Yep.
And, you know if you know Enchantress pretty well, you don't know if they have the Helm plus Rest in Peace kill, but you know they have Rest in Peace.
Right, it's an enchantment that is good against a variety of decks, so it's got to be somewhere throughout the 75.
Potential of Agni to draw. Yeah, but I think you said it best. The problem here is that for Curtis, no Enchantress effect and no pressure.
Yep.
So Eric can just kind of do his thing here.
And I wonder if Wiemann would have been better served just going and getting Argothian Enchantress. I know
with that Zenith.
I know that Teague is another lock piece, but it's just so slow. And I'd rather have a little bit more pressure on the game and maybe a bit less of a lock than have more lock pieces but no pressure.
There's Dried Arbor. The pressure's here.
Yeah, spoke too soon.
Yep. It's time to give the beatdowns.
Got a clock going now. Big draw, though.
Finally. Enchantress's presence. That'll at least get something going.
The other card in hand is Solitary Confinement. He doesn't have the base setup for this card just yet.
And it's such a haymaker in the matchup that if he can just kind of get something going as far as drawing cards is concerned, then it's pretty tough for Eric to win. Yeah, he does have an Abrupt Decay for it. But again, he's got to Abrupt Decay that. He's got to kill Rest in Peace potentially. Obviously has to get Leyline off the battlefield. There's just a lot he's got to work through.
Yep.
It's just taking Curtis a little while to actually get set up here. Now, one thing to note, too, is that for some draws with Storm, you don't have to go through the graveyard at all. So that's a bit of a bonus.
Yeah, there's no promise that Hawkins needs to get Rest in Peace off the table.
But he's going to kill it.
And if he's doing that, I assume this means that he's going for a kill this turn. Because if you thought the game was going to go on for numerous turns, you would just get the presence off the table and still just sit here and have both players not do anything.
Yep.
But Hawkins, I assume at this point, has just a load of mana to work with.
Well, we know he's got at least 2 Dark Rituals. And we know he's got Tendrils of Agony in hand. Outside of that, we don't know much else. You can see a Lotus Petal in his hand. Well, he's doing math now. Cabal Ritual, Infernal Tutor. And if you're a Storm player, you've worked through Leyline of Sanctity before.
I wonder if Hawkins would have been better served if he was going to Abrupt Decay something this turn and had 2 mana left over. I wonder if he was supposed to use the 2 mana to cast Lotus Petal through the Aura of Silence. I don't know exactly what his mana situation is like and if he needs the addition to the Storm count more than he needs the mana, but it would have been slightly more efficient from a mana perspective to play the Petal last turn, Abrupt Decay, and untap and go with the Petal in play. Another thing to keep in mind in all this, it looks like Hawkins is going to have enough mana to do whatever it is that he's trying to do. If Lotus Petal needs to work its way into the equation, let's say he needs to Infernal Tutor for Chain of Vapor somewhere in the sequence, it takes him 2 mana to get the Lion's Eye Diamond into play because of Aura of Silence.
Sure.
So it's a little bit less efficient than it typically is. Okay. All right.
Well, he needs to get it out of his hand.
Yes.
Because of Infernal Tutor.
Okay. So I guess we're going to be going for it next turn at the earliest.
Ever seen that one? Tendrils myself, you're up. I think Exploration may have been the draw. Yeah. All right, draw a card. Green Sun Zenith now.
Green Sun Zenith is a big draw here for Wiemann. Realistically, to maintain a Solitary Confinement, he's going to need 2 Enchantress effects in play. If he goes and gets an Argothian Enchantress here, untaps and draws a cheap enchantment, he might be able to set up a real firm lock.
That was the most confident tap 4 Tendrils myself I've ever seen.
Yeah, because Hawkins is looking at the hand. He's got to get empty for an Infernal Tutor. He's got a Duress in there. He has to Duress himself, one assumes. So this was the most efficient use of his turn from a mana perspective.
Just not scared. Just this go. I've been here before. It's all good. All right, here's Zenith. I believe for 2. Yep, there's Argothian.
And this isn't worth very much this turn, but next turn things can start getting really good for Wiemann. It will be another thing that Hawkins has to get off the table before he can really do anything.
If there is a next turn.
Assuming there is a next turn.
Get in there, Dryad Arbor. Teach him a lesson. Hawkins will draw. Misty Rainforest, that's one that you can actually put on the battlefield. All right, he's sacrificing that. Maybe.
It's a mana and a card he can play.
Yep.
So land's a good draw here.
All right, he's going to sacrifice that. Down to 16, I believe he's going to fall. Is he fresh out?
He's got 2 islands in his deck. Wow, okay. Did he board out a land, maybe? Yes, because he brought in the tropical island.
Yeah,
So
yeah,
he must have
yeah.
boarded out one of the islands. That makes sense.
Little touch of awkwardness there. All right, Lotus Petal, that costs 2. He's reaching for his Storm Tools now. All right. Black mana. Dark Ritual. Dark Ritual. Spell 3, up to 5. Cabal Ritual, 1, 2, I don't think we're at 7 in the graveyard.
Nope.
Actually, no, I think we might exactly be at 7.
No, he's at 6. He's at 6. This is still an okay base to go off from. The problem here is, you know, the LEDs and the pedals are not going to be nearly as efficient right now as they normally are.
Yeah, they're typically insane. I think Eric's going to have to get pretty lucky here. I mean, if he works his way into another Abrupt Decay, then life is okay, but I think he's going to get pretty fortunate. Maybe he's just going to go Past in Flames, but I think he has to go Ad Nauseam.
Well, Past in Flames is a dead end right now because he has to be able to get Leyline of Sanctity off the table to be able to do anything, and his graveyard does not provide a route for him to do that. I suppose he could try to Ritual up Infernal Tutor for a Chain of Vapor and Tendrils this turn, but I don't know if he's got the route to do that through his graveyard.
If he has the mana and all that stuff, that's hard.
It's a lot of mana.
Ad Nauseam, no mana floating, has already played his land, which was awkward. It was a Misty that couldn't find anything. And now here we go. Dark Ritual, Ponder, down to 14. Probe will bring him down to 13. Ponder will bring him down to 12. Ritual will bring him down to 10. Probe will bring him down to 9. Petal, it's expensive. Duress brings you down to 8. Therapy brings you down to 7. Infernal Tutor brings you down to 5.
But I don't think Hawkins can get his hand empty here. In his hand is discard spells he can't really cast, cantrips that replace themselves. This hand does not look like very much to me. Look like any sort of path to me right now. I think Hawkins probably has to keep going.
It's either keep going or just try to build a decent hand. Dark Ritual is down to 4. Can't duress him, though.
I mean, this is tough because I think Hawkins needs to find Chain of Vapor and Lion's Eye Diamond. Or there's a chance that Empty the Warrants is in his deck, but he can't kill Digging for that because he's a 4 right now.
Duress will bring him down to 3. Living on the edge. Trust me, that Duress did not help.
Yeah, worst case scenario right there is discard spell. I suppose worst is something that kills him, but Duress is right after that.
He's thinking about just stopping here. All right. How about another one? Down to 1. And facing a Dry Harbor.
Yep. At this point, I think he's just going to have to use the cantrips and hope for the best.
Another Dark Ret.
Hey, off here. Maybe there's some route I'm not seeing.
Yeah, he's playing his spells pretty confidently, right?
Yep.
Cabal Ritual. This one has Threshold. Black mana, not even close to a problem. Spell count, not a problem either. But how does he get by the ley line? How can he see as many cards as possible? And how does he not die to the Dryad Arbor that's on the other side of the table?
I mean, he can definitely pay for the pedal, and that allows him to ponder and still have blue mana available should he draw Chain of Vapor.
Yeah, I think the Aura of Silence is causing some real problems here. All Curtis Wiemann can do is sit here, rub his hands together, hope that he gets another turn. Infernal Tutor. Reveal Pedal.
Tough way to do it through Aura of Silence.
Yep.
I was skeptical of Aura of Silence. It's been doing work this game.
It's looked good.
Yeah, this has been pretty solid.
All right, that pedal costs 2. Use that. Cast Ponder. 2, 3. There's a Brainstorm in there. There's a Dark Petition in there. Dark Petition is a way to find the Chain of Vapor.
But now mana's becoming a bit of a bottleneck.
Uh-huh.
You had to pay so much for these Lotus Petals.
What a weird game. At this point, I don't even know if Eric knows he can win.
Yeah, I think that Dark Petition and Brainstorm, they look like serviceable cards, but I think to have enough mana to do everything he needs to do, he just needs to draw Chain of Vapor. I don't think he can try to navigate it any other way.
Well, we'll see if he can find it.
And it's not like his work's done once he draws Chain of Vapor.
Yeah. Misty Rainforest, not you. Yep, he's going to concede, yeah. Can't find Chain of Vapor. And can't work his way through all of those annoying enchantments. I think that he's proving to be big there, or a Silence too.
And also, the Enchantress effects. It's easy to look at, you know, Leyline, Aura of Silence, Rest in Peace, all these cards. And those cards definitely matter. But Hawkins had a lot of time to try to sculpt a hand while Wiemann just was sitting there with the enchantments in play. When Wiemann starts getting the ball rolling and drawing cards, he's threatening to really lock Hawkins out of the game. So that was what forced the issue maybe a little bit ahead of schedule. And Hawkins looked at a lot of cards, but his ad nauseum just found basically cantrips and discard spells, no help there, and he couldn't find the Chain of Vapor and died to the Dryad Arbor.
We're all tied up here. Enchantress Storm going to game number 3. Now, a lot of time left here for either player, so we'll see if they're able to finish. But in the meantime, we will talk about a player who did finish quite well in this room a couple of months ago. That's Alex Mistecki. He's our Season 3 Invitational Champion. That's why he's got this fantastic Germ Token for your Batter Skulls and for your other living weapons. And there are a couple of ways to go about getting this thing.
Yeah, it's available for anyone who registers for a 2-day $20,000 Open Series event like the one we're covering right now in New Jersey. Anyone who registers for a 5K Premier IQ, both the ones that we hold here on Sundays at our Open Series events or ones that you can bring to your local store. And if you can't get out to one of our large events, any order from StarCityGames.com, $5 or greater, will come shipped with one of these tokens.
We'll see Alex at the Players' Championship at the end of the year, and perhaps we'll see Eric Hawkins join him, though he is in a pretty tough spot here playing against Enchantress. Game number 3 on the way here in just a bit. We'll see if Curtis Wiemann can find another one of those Leyline of Sanctities that was so useful for him that last game. He does have 4 after sideboard. For Eric, he has a few ways to get it off the battlefield. Chain of Vapor is certainly a good one. And we'll see if Eric can find one of those this time around, as he couldn't do it last time. Now, the real advantage I think that Eric has here in this matchup is that he can just kill you on turn 1.
Yes. If Wiemann does not have Leyline of Sanctity on the first turn, he can't really get his gloves up until the 3rd turn of the game, most likely. And that's plenty of time for Hawkins on the play to assemble a hand that can kill.
So these players will shuffle up, and if you are just joining us, it is Cedric Phillips, Patrick Sullivan, and of course Nick Miller in the sideboard doing your deck techs, picking your feature matches all weekend long as we are in round number 12 here from New Jersey at SCG Live, hashtag SCGNJ all weekend long for your tweets as we make our way through 3 more rounds of Swiss action. Eventually, we're cutting to a top 8. And when someone's walking out of here with $5,000, 25 Open Series points, an invite to our Season 4 Invitational at Las Vegas. Chris Anderson right now on the top of the standings, first place with lands. His only loss on the weekend to Reed Duke.
Do you notice Curtis Wiemann there with the pileception form of pile shuffling?
Oh, I missed that.
Pile of 6, pick up one of the 6, pile into 5, take one of the piles of 5, pile into 4.
Pileception?
Yeah,
That's what you would do that? Okay. Pile mania?
Yeah.
See if Eric likes that last card. Looks like Curtis got a mulligan.
And I think Curtis is willing to mulligan very aggressively for Leyline of Sanctity in this matchup. It really changes the equation a lot if it's in his opening hand. With it, he's got time, and he can do a lot of powerful stuff with time. If he doesn't have it, again, he's probably not doing anything substantial until the 3rd turn of the game, and Hawkins will probably have killed him by then.
Curtis is going to take a look at 6 cards now. He's going to keep it. Time for that Vancouver Scry. Which is all right. I like that one. Does he have Leyline to start? It looks like the answer is no.
I have no beginning of game effects there from Curtis.
Well, it's a perfectly keepable hand. I don't know if you're supposed to mulligan this one to try to find a Leyline or not.
I mean, this is a great hand with Gaddock Teague. This cannot be mulliganed.
Yeah, I don't think so. I mean, you got Utopia Sprawl, Wild Growth, an Enchantress piece in Argothian Enchantress, a Gaddock Teague, a Serra Sanctum, which is arguably your best land, and a Forest to cast your spells.
This is a great 6-card hand. Does not have Leyline, obviously, but it has a Gaddock Teague you can cast on turn 2, plus an Enchantress effect, plus some setup with an Enchantress. That's a great 6-card hand.
Ponder here from Hawkins. He's looking at Abrupt Decay among other options. What's also interesting here is, how explosive is Eric's hand, because he's got a sideboard in such a weird way because of the other things that Curtis can bring in. So by default, he's going to dilute his deck a little bit. We'll pass the turn back. Curtis will draw.
Right on time.
Leyline, everybody's favorite. Utopia Sprawl.
Leyline is not bad. Curtis is going to be able to cast this on turn 3.
Looks like the Sprawl's going to go with green. He's not going to have much. He's not going to have a shortage of white mana.
Yeah, Serra Sanctum takes care of that.
Yeah. Brainstorm here from Hawkins. He'll draw 3. Have to put 2 back here in just a moment. Kind of match right here that Eric Hawkins needs to win to stay ahead of Tom Ross, Todd Anderson, all those guys that are now 7-4.
Yeah, Hawkins loses this and he's out for top 8. And he's facing down a very strong hand from the opponent.
Yep.
That's even better than he knows, because Leyline of Sanctity was the first draw step.
Brainstorm's done resolving. Underground Sea. Ponder. If you're Eric, I think you're thinking turn 3's got to be the turn.
Yeah.
That's when I got to make my move.
Although it's unlikely to be turn 3, because I would expect Wyman's next turn simply to be Gaddock Teague. So that will probably force Hawkins to kill it and say go, and then hope that he can win the following turn. The thing is, I don't know if Hawkins has access to green mana right now. Or if he does, it's through a Lotus Petal and not his Tropical Island.
Looks like Eric's going to keep. Going to keep a Brainstorm, Ponder's on resolving. He has a Lotus Petal. Play that, say go.
Yeah, trying to get in front of Aura of Silence.
Pretty smart. It was good last game. We're in turns.
Yep.
Turn 1. Serra Sanctum. There's Wild Growth on the Sanctum. And now there's a lit. Oh, yeah. Wow.
Yeah, so he floats 1, and then the Sanctum makes 3.
Yep.
Yep.
Because the Wild Growth and the 2 enchantments.
Yep.
All right. That was unique. But is that the best thing to play this turn?
Well, I like getting the ley line into play and then following up next turn with Teague, yeah. Because this cuts off any discard spells as disruption.
Yep.
Abrupt Decay doesn't do anything.
Also worth noting now is that the next turn, Serra Sanctum taps for a lot.
Also, on top of that, Hawkins showed no way to get this off the table last game.
Yeah.
We know he has a Chain of Vapor, but from Wieman's perspective, this could be a lock.
Yep.
He's seen Abrupt Decay, so I like leading here.
Eric playing Brainstorm. This will be card 5 in the graveyard. Worth noting because there's a Cabal Ritual in his hand.
Like we said last round, a draw and a loss, the same thing for the purposes of making top 8.
Yeah, X3-1 not going to do it this weekend. Lotus Petal spell 6. He's doing the math now. Dark Ritual. That'll be card 7 in the graveyard.
And Hawkins, knowing about the Teague in Wieman's hand, might just be willing to try to shoot the moon this turn with Ad Nauseam.
Got to get a move on.
Yeah. I mean, he's in turns. It's not going to get easier next turn because he's going to have to kill the Galaxy before he can do anything. He's got a lot of mana to work with. Has not made his land drop this turn. This is not a bad spot to try to win from.
He's got 1 black mana floating. Here we go. 17, 16. Still at 16 from Lotus Petal. Let's make it down to 14 from Cabal Ritual. 13 from Ponder. 12 from Cabal Therapy. 11 from Dark Ritual. 10 from Dark Ritual. 6 from Tendrils of Agony.
And I think Hawkins may have it now. I think he has Dark Petition in hand. He's got a black mana floating to jumpstart the rituals he's just drawn. He can Dark Petition for the Chain of Vapor and Tendrils. I don't know if he's got exactly enough mana, but with a land drop to make, a Lotus Petal, and all the rituals he's found, I think he can get it done this turn.
Well, he stopped. Ritual. Up to 3 black. Up to 5 now. Spell 6. Another ritual. This will generate even more mana. He's up to 8. 7 spells. Petal spell 8. Dark Petition. Down to 8, down to 3, up to 6, given spell mastery. Chain, chain, chain. Petition is such a subtle addition to this deck.
Yep. I think one's about the cap that you can play.
Yep.
But
it's a good one.
It's a good one.
And now the Tendrils. That's going to do it. Eric Hawkins going to win this match here over Curtis Wiemann. 2-1. Storm will take care of it. Enchantress. Hawkins couldn't find the chain in game number 2, but Dark Petition helped him find it for game number 3, and he gets the job done. He's still alive for top 8 here at 9-3.
Very well navigated game inside of turns there. Knew the following turn he would have to get Galaxy plus who knows what else off the table. So went forward in a spot where it wasn't a lot to win the game necessarily, but knew that he had a pretty good shot at being able to find the necessary pieces. Just need to find